My name is Father Tim Devine, and I was born in Kitchener, Ontario, to a loving mom and dad in a Catholic family, and my older brother Matt, he's 2 years older than me, and since birth I've been blind, and so it's nothing that I had to adjust to later in life. It's just the way I am. When I was a kid, people would often ask me, hey Timmy, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I always seem to have this top 3 wish list for some reason. I wanted to be a fireman, a baker, and a priest. I thought maybe a fireman because, just loved playing with my brother with our different fireman equipment toys that we'd goof around with, and baking. Obviously I loved cake and cupcakes and whatever, so I thought being a baker would be cool. But I really did enjoy going to Mass on Sundays with my family, and I liked the priest at the church where I was growing up, and so that was also a fun option. I thought would be nice to be a priest. So as I grew older, I was sort of thinking about what I wanted to do later in life, and being blind, I just didn't think that priesthood was something I could do, right? Because when you're blind, there's certain things you kind of want to avoid, right? I thought maybe, obviously it's not a good idea to want to become like a brain surgeon, for example, or a taxi driver, certain things that you just don't pursue. But I thought priesthood would also be on that list. But so I thought maybe counseling, psychology would be a good path for me. I really liked listening to people and helping people out. So I ended up going to University of Waterloo just to get a degree in psychology. In university, studying to be a psychologist, I really felt a call to the priesthood there. Unfortunately, it wasn't a dramatic, obvious discernment where, felt the thunder crashing and, a voice saying, Timothy, you shall become a priest or whatever. It's like, it was, for me, it was about 3 things that were kind of going on in my heart. That one was that I had a more adult understanding of what I could and couldn't do as someone who's blind. I was succeeding in my courses at university, and I thought, hey, maybe I could study philosophy and theology and all that stuff, and so I had a better sense of that. And also another thing that was going on was, as much as I liked psychology, there was a part of me that knew I'd be having to bite my tongue a lot, because I would always want to somehow talk about faith or spirituality with the people I'd be counseling. And I started to wonder, what does that say about me? Obviously I really value faith and spirituality, and maybe priesthood would still be a better path for me. And the third thing that was going on was just reading more about the lives of the saints and just how they just went for broke and just laid it all down and followed the Lord. I thought, it'd be so great just to be just wholehearted for the Lord in my life. And so I felt like with those 3 things kind of all going on in my heart at the same time, I really knew that if I never at least tried, I would always wonder, so I decided to go for it. So as I wanted to pursue the priesthood, I had to definitely, take stock on, with my disability, of how that would play a role. And so I thought, how do I even mention this to the people that I call and ask about the priesthood? I have to break it to them that I'm blind at some point, and there's no obvious segue, I couldn't be like, hey, do you like Andrea Bocelli music? Well, speaking of people who are blind, but so I just thought, hey, I thought, I just have to just say it straight up. So I called and talked to different communities and was discerning. I mentioned that I was interested in studying the priesthood, but also that I was blind, and that came with sort of mixed reviews of different people I would call. But one group in particular was the Companions of the Cross in Ottawa, and Father Bob Bedard seemed very open to meeting with me, even though he knew I was blind, and felt that, hey, you can at least try and we'll see what happens. So I ended up, discerning to consider a call to the priesthood with the Companions of the Cross in Ottawa. So I was so excited to meet Father Bob and be accepted by the Companions of the Cross to join that fall. So I was meeting with them in May of 1996, and I was all excited to join in September of that year, but in that time there were some challenges that I had going on in my life. One was that I was playing in a band with my brother, and we were doing just little gigs around the Ontario kind of area, just playing. And we ended up getting a letter in June from Virgin Records Canada saying that they wanted to give us a cross-country tour. And then if that went well, then it would lead to like a 1-record contract. So that would be like a real foot in the door sort of contract with Virgin Records and the band. We were all excited and thought this was awesome. And meanwhile, I'm thinking like, oh no, like how am I supposed to break into the band that I want to become a priest? I want to join the seminary. So I was starting to feel pretty anxious about that. And then in July, I ended up meeting this girl named Melody, and she was really awesome, and we really hit it off well. And I thought, oh man, like I'd love to date her and get to know her more, but I don't dare because I feel like talk about a romance killer saying, I think I want to be a priest, So I was feeling stressed about that and just wondering like, Lord, maybe you're trying to introduce me to her before I go to seminary because maybe this is my calling instead. I don't know. And I was confused. And another thing that was going on was my mom and dad had a breakup in their marriage the year prior. And because of that, we actually ended up having to sell our house the summer I was getting ready to go to seminary. And so with the sale of the house, my brother was off living with other university students. My mom was going to move in with my uncle and aunt, and my dad was elsewhere. And so I thought, well, if I go off to seminary, like my family's blown to smithereens, all four corners, and like what, I don't even know if emotionally I'm really even ready for seminary because I'm still pretty, hurt and confused and dealing with just the breakup of my mom and dad and, pretty distressed on that too. And so just with, there's lots of obstacles in the way, like just of thinking like, man, maybe I better stay back and pursue the contract with the band or to pursue a relationship with Melody or to be more present to my mom during this time. So I was really feeling those obstacles. And then that summer too, I was, just praying a lot, just what do I do about all this? And in one of the daily masses, the readings were about the call of Peter and Andrew to follow Jesus. He said, come follow me. And they dropped their nets and followed him. And I thought, man, like for me to drop my nets is to break up with the band, to break it to Melody that I want to go to seminary, to leave my mom high and dry. And I thought like, this is so hard, like dropping my nets is hard and I really need God's help. And I thought, is there a novena to St. Peter anywhere? Because he dropped his nets and followed the Lord. I mean, I need his help, but I couldn't find a good novena, and there was no Google at the time to look up a cool novena to that. So I just made one up at the time. I thought I'll just pray a rosary for 9 days and ask St. Peter to pray for me and Mother Mary to help. And I really felt that helped me a lot. And just really just turning to God in prayer gave me that grace, I feel, to do what I needed to do to pursue my calling and to let the band know what I wanted to do. And they kind of understood. And my brother said he kind of saw it coming anyway. And we had our farewell concert at the end of August. And Melody understood, my need to at least give this a try. I don't think secretly she was hoping it might not work out and I'd come back, but I had her blessing to go. And then my mom was saying, well, what really could I do for her anyway, staying back? It's better that I just pursue, what I feel is in my heart. So after that novena, I really felt I had the grace to have the courage to do what I needed to do to clear the path to go to Ottawa that fall. As I pursued that call, I still feel like I wasn't sure how it was going to pan out, and I was able to, just give it that leap of faith, and God really pulled through for me. And I'm so glad I did, because it was like a hand in a glove. I just loved it in the seminary, loved being ordained. I've been a priest for, since 2002 now, and it's just been an amazing adventure. And I feel like, for me, like, though I'm not able to be a fireman, I still get to, call on the fire of the Holy Spirit and pray that way. And also I get to be a baker in the sense that I get to bring the bread of life to people in the Eucharist, and of course I still get to be a priest. The things I thought were obstacles to joining the seminary, God just really showed me that if I really trusted in him and left it in his hands, that he would take care of the rest. Because, even though I broke up with the band to go to seminary, I actually ended up getting together with my brother and some other musicians, and we started a kind of a Catholic rock band. And we've actually had more success and fun and joy and fulfillment with that group and with subsequent, music ministry and praise and worship nights. And I even got to play for the Pope at World Youth Day in Toronto in 2002. And, just all kinds of fun with music that I don't think I ever would have had with the previous band. In Melody, she ended up getting married and has a few kids, and she's doing great, so I feel really happy for her. And then with my mom and dad, 2 years into the seminary, my mom and dad reconciled and they're back together, and the relationship's even stronger than what it was prior. And I just feel like wow, like just all these things I thought were reasons not to go to seminary, God took care of it all in the end and just showed his faithfulness. My hope is that people will just feel inspired with what God's done in my life to realize that his call in their life can always come true if they just take that effort to trust in his power above whatever they might see as obstacles, and to be able to just keep giving a great big yes to God's plan so that he can show his faithfulness and his goodness to them.